hear what I'm saying like 3 seconds
Yeah, you can't
ago.
concentrate.
It's yeah, you can't concentrate because you hear yourself from like 3 seconds ago, and you're like, ah.
Yeah. Doh. All right. Well, I'm just gonna do a quick reading here. See how my audio sounds. Jennifer Lawrence cuts her hair because it was fried. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Hermit Cave. A little special session here with a guest here, Ben, and we're going to talk about a whole range of issues. I'd like to get through some of the Middle East news, um, not too much in detail, but just kind of an overview of all the stuff that's been going on. We'll talk about some interesting things such as social engineering. Um, we'll talk about the purpose of the state and define that. We'll go through about um, what history is and what it means for us, and some other things. All right, so welcome, Ben. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, so we're having a nice, lovely day out here. Just to start out, it's a nice harp rain, chem rain, drizzle. I think it rained about 31 hours last week. So, and I know you're in the same state as I, so that's how broad it is. When we're getting chem drizzle over here in one part of the state, you're probably getting the same thing. So that's the way it
Yeah, it's
goes.
pretty much the same situation over here.
Yeah. Well, I was going to cover start out with this movie, Captain Phillips. I haven't seen it, um, and I don't think you have either. But you understand the gist of it, which has to do with these private carriers, ship freighters, and Somali pirates. So recently, we've had some incidences in Somalia, a couple drone strikes. Um, we've had the Westgate shooting in what was it, the Kenya shooting, and it was linked back to Al Shabaab. So we're seeing a lot of focus on Africa, and I've covered that in my GGN videos. But you made a really good point, and that is about the Somali pirates and how these people, Captain Phillips, is actually the pirate. Do you want to talk about that and how it relates to resources and that?
Yeah, it's really just a matter of rhetoric, just using the specific words to portray who's playing what role in these situations, and that's what the media carries out. It's a form of thought control uh, when they call the Somalis pirates, but what is being carried out by American and Western corporations in that region is not piracy. Seems to be seems just seems to be a blatant hypocrisy. They're stealing the resources of those lands, and I would say that if anyone's a pirate, it would be the West. And then they call the people who are uh,
Patrolling their waters really is the.
patrolling their waters. They're really a makeshift navy, but that would be a misnomer according to the media that we're that we're under.
Right, and you can't have I hate using the word empire because it's makes it sound like it's progress, but you have like this um, uh, uh, huge military empire, and they're going around taking resources, either by force or by proxy through terrorist forces, destabilization campaigns, and they can't just go in there and just start bombing the shit out of Somalia. I mean, yeah, they can drone bomb them, selected targets and stuff like that, but they're taking out whatever heads of resistance there are to them going and extracting their resources. So they have to build up a propaganda around that, and that's what the Westgate shooting was all about. And then you have this movie about Captain Phillips, who, like most of these ships, go through there, and for whatever reasons, they're not allowed to arm themselves. They can't hire private contractors, so they're sitting ducks really, and they're like sacrificial lambs. So the average American's going to go in there, and they're going to watch this, and it's going to be an emotional film about someone like Tom Hanks. He's just a likable guy, right? And that's what's going to happen. People are going to be like, oh man, these evil Somali pirates, and so it's just crazy how they do that. how they're gonna carry that out, and they're getting people's focus, their attention on that area. But I was gonna keep moving here and keep rolling, just as far as in that area. We've had a lot of destabilization, and you actually made a good point here before this show, which is something that a lot of people don't think about, which is Libya. Um, Benghazi Gate, as they called it, and you were saying that it was actually a diversion. Um, this was actually a diversion from the real thing, which was that they destabilized the entire country. They threw that country into chaos. It became a failed state, and that's what it is now.
That's right. They carried out a mission to destroy the government of Libya and destabilize that region, institute an interim government that's really made up of terrorists, and institute Sharia law. This is specifically for the effect of de-democratizing a region and taking the power out of the people's hands. And it was a huge success in those terms. They were also subsequently able to destabilize Syria with the same methods, using terrorists from the Libya operation.
Right, yeah. Yeah, Libya was a huge success. I mean, they used it as a smuggling place. They were smuggling Stinger missiles to the terrorists that were going into Syria to destabilize that area.
It, it also subsequently destabilized Algeria and Mali, which was to France's benefit.
Right. Yeah, Tunisia. I've been coming in a lot. North Africa. They're having. They didn't get the elections they wanted there. Egypt, of course. Egypt is right where they want it. Right where they want it. They're extracting their resources. They have Israel bombing in the Sinai Peninsula. They're a failed state. So Algeria needs to be wary. Actually, Syria and Assad just had a meeting last week with Algeria of basically talking about national pan-Arab nationalism, basically to protect their people and from these outsiders from coming in. And Algeria, some people say it's a puppet regime and it's a hardcore regime, but for whatever it's worth, I don't think they really mess around too much. And so that could be good for Syria and for North Africa as far as what the West is trying to do here. But yeah, basically that's what you were saying though. This was under Hillary Clinton's reign. This was a Hillary Clinton stamped, approved, run operation in Libya. So they wanted to divert attention from the chaos that was a success, and they kept focusing and hammering it home about Benghazi. That created.
Yeah,
That created.
that's
Go ahead.
people. People. Most people think that the disaster in Libya was 9/11, the embassy attack and the death of Ambassador Stevens and I think four other individuals, and they think that that was the disaster of Libya, and that was really just the distraction from the actual disaster, which was the destruction of a very healthy country and and the destabilization of that
Right,
country.
because they called that a failure. That was the whole thing. Was they kept calling it a failure. The ambassador Stevens being killed, and actually, yeah, the failure was really a success, and that was the point. So everything is about word games. That's where the point we're trying to talk here. Playing word games, calling the Somali pirates when really the ships that are going through, they're sailing through their resources that were pirated, are called the good guys, and the Somali Navy are called the pirates. So I mean that's a strategic area. I'm looking at the map right now, and
Exactly.
so it's their benefit. Like in Yemen, South Yemen, they're trying to get autonomy. They don't want to be part of the central government. So they call, Al Qaeda's there. No, it's not really Al Qaeda. It's rebels that are trying to get back the control over their country, over the resources, and away from the central government. The same thing is happening in Iraq. Oh, yeah, actually, that's somewhere where we've been. And of course, people are trying to rebel from that central government, which is why they're having massive deaths, massive casualties. And Maliki just had to walk and beg Obama over here to supply him with weapons to stop this and get it under control, because a lot of this is being caused by what, again, the U.S. is doing in Syria, creating destabilization. So you got a lot of refugees coming out of Libya and terrorists coming out of Libya, Egypt, Saudi Arabia. That's another place that we were talking about. Saudi Arabia could be next. Their oil pretty much is known in the economic financial world, that their oil has pretty much been drained, and I've talked about that before. They've been doing this for a long time, trying to drain them for really political, strategic purposes to destabilize. So they use the economy as a means of control, and they get what they want. So Saudi Arabia could be pretty crazy, because, like we were saying, you could start to see this is Sunni. This is where Wahhabism, Salafism, and like Qatar. This is where they're funding all the destabilization up here in Syria. And so what you could see is all these terrorists that are in Syria, that are in Russia's doorstep up here in the Caucasus. You could see all them swarm to Saudi Arabia, and that could become another failed state, which would be a big deal. But all this destabilization, Somalia, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, this is all good because it creates an anti-terrorism apparatus, so they can get cheap shipping lanes to peddle their pirated resources.
It's been quite an effective strategy for decades. This was something they've been doing since post World War II, and was really very much articulated very well during the Reagan years in Central and South America. And it's a strategy of essentially funding terrorism.
Right. We're at the 12-minute mark. I'm going to keep recording, but why don't you explain that quickly as far as what Obama's doing right now, instead of the hot war, troops on the ground like Bush. You have kind of a Reagan-esque type of tactics or operations under Obama.
It was the same strategy that was carried out during the Reagan years in Central and South America, was funding militant groups, basically terrorist groups that were right-wing, that would support right-wing dictators. And the populist movements that existed in those areas at that time, which had been largely crushed and exists only in small extents today, those were accused of being Soviet-style communists, and they were really more along the lines of libertarian communists. And
so they're like a lot of countries, like we're talking about Yemen. They're people like Libya, Eastern Libya. They're actually getting control of the oil fields, or forming their own army. They're trying to get connected directly back with their resources. I mean, that's what we're talking about, right?
Yes. They're trying to get the resources back to the people, and
so they label them just like Al Qaeda. They call them, they're the Contras. I think that's what you were talking about.
Contras, the Sustanisans.
Okay, so on this last minute here or so, we'll try to bring it back to Africa, how we were talking about a hot war. And you were talking about the 26 elections and how the Republicans may actually win.
They'll probably win the 2016 elections, more likely than not. That's just the way the trends go.
You were talking about the military, using the military getting weak strategy.
They've been talking about this. They did this. They used the same strategy during the Clinton years, saying that Clinton was downsizing the military. They're saying the same thing right now, that Obama's downsizing the military, when in fact he's spent more money on the military budget than any other president before him. So they want to portray the American military as weak, get a Republican in the office, and will bring strength back to America. And they usually do this, and this leads to some pretty hot interventions.
Okay. Well, we're in the final 10 seconds here. that's going to wrap it up for this kind of world geopolitical news. Thank you for joining us, Ben. We're going to do another session here, so please join us again. This is the Hermit Cave.